All right, it's time to kick off that Cornelius Custom Services 8 o'clock hour. And anytime you hear the taxi, that means Joe, the Bryant Insurance guy, is a stepping out and a coming in. Good morning, sir.
Good morning, Rick. How are you this morning?
So far, so good. Well, you know what? I know on a day like this when it's 47 degrees outside, we're not thinking too much about the partying of the summer, but before you know it, the summer's going to be here.
Right.
Everybody's want to get out of the house. And when they get out of the house, there's swimming pools, there's trampolines, there's
movie stars,
ATV. Yeah. You know, you're going to get out and play around the cement pond.
Yes.
You got to be careful when you got people coming over. You know, you don't have those signs up there that says no running around the pool, and you don't have lifeguards on duty and all that kind of stuff. How do you deal with all that sort of thing, ATVs and all that kind of stuff going around your house?
Oh, yeah. No, it's a common issue. I'll tell you, when we are doing a homeowner's policy or doing quotes for homeowners policies, some of the questions that most every company asks: is there a swimming pool? Is there a trampoline? Trampolines, I saw a report the other day. I guess we're all getting very PC these days, but trampolines are now...
Really? When did we start that?
Trampolines are becoming one of the most causes of injuries in backyards these days. I remember when I was a kid, the trampoline never had a net around it, never had anything on the springs. If you fell off, you just learned your lesson. But I will say that we have a trampoline. We've got the cage around it, the cage or the wire mesh or whatever. Not wire mesh, but whatever.
It's
you
like
know what I'm talking about.
The octagon cage death match kind of thing.
And listen, sometimes you put the kids in there.
Let them have them go. Yeah.
But trampolines are an issue you need to be aware of. You know, I always tell people from a trampoline perspective, obviously, make sure that you have some netting around it with poles and all that so no one's going to go flying off. The other thing I'll tell you, based on the weather we've had the past week or two, you might want to make sure those suckers are anchored down as well.
Yeah.
And when I say anchored down, you know, you can go get those. They look like big screws that you put into the ground that have kind of a hole on the top that you can just put a strap over or something like that. Just make sure it's secured on one or two sides. That's the last thing, especially in a neighborhood situation with high winds. You don't want that thing catching flight and deciding to take a ride into your neighbor's window or your neighbor's house or car or something like that. So trampolines, keep that under control. You know, swimming pools, movie stars. So in-ground swimming pools, you want to make sure that you have a good net around it. You know, they make those pool nets that you can put up to keep little ones from wandering or falling in the pool. There's also many devices that you can get, whether it's something that floats on the water that senses if something falls into the pool.
Right.
There's an alert that goes off. You really want to make sure that you've got your pool situation under control. Above ground swimming pools, the easiest way to kind of prevent that, and one of the questions they asked was, do you have a ladder that can be taken out? So make sure you're squared away for that. You know, just in general, if you're going to have a lot of people coming out to your house, you want to just kind of take a lay of the land and make sure that there's not any glaring issues, because that's where liability concerns come into play. You know, you knew about that board. Your family members have known about that missing board or that weak spot in the floor that you've been meaning to get fixed, and I'll get around to it. But guess what? A friend of a friend that's coming over, they're not going to know about it. They're going to slip and fall, or they're going to fall in a hole, or they're going to injure themselves. And that's going to be coming back on you from a liability standpoint. And you just want to make sure that you have that stuff squared away. ATVs, UTVs, very popular things these days. Hey, let's go take a ride out on them. Again, you want to make sure you have coverage for that liability aspect-wise. You see a lot of it these days where, you know, two folks jump on an ATV and they start, you know, trailing off into the bushes or whatever to go four-wheeling and mudding and all that. You want to make sure that you have coverage for that.
You know, I saw a deal yesterday where somebody had rented a bounce house to put in their backyard.
Oh, I saw the same report.
And the wind picked it up and blew three kids up in the air about 50 feet in the air.
Right.
And a couple of them fell out. I mean, you know, you're going to have a bunch of kids over for a party and stuff like that. Are those things also covered if you rent something like that put in your yard?
You know, you want to make sure that you're renting it from a reputable place. You know, we've rented a few bounce houses from Mike's West Side down here. He's got a really good organization out there. They come out, they set it up for you. One of the key things that apparently in this story they didn't do is Mike's folks will anchor it down for you to make sure that doesn't happen. You know, from a liability perspective, you want to make sure, again, that if it's on your property and you're held liable for it, you want to make sure most of your homeowner's liability insurance will take care of that. But again, just be smart about it. Have a good idea of knowing who's going to come over. Don't just throw a sign up in the yard and say, come on, let's go.
Right.
You want to make sure you know who's coming over to the house. Make sure it doesn't get, too crazy. You don't want to have 400, 500, 600 people over your house because just a lot of bad stuff can happen. If, for example, there is coverage for like event type stuff. If you're really going to get nuts and you're really going to get crazy and, hey, we're going to have 400 or 500 people over, we're going to have a big old shindig. Yeah, you can get event coverage and stuff like that to cover you from, additional liabilities and stuff like that. You can certainly get it. I looked at one for a client the other day. So there's that possibility as well. But just be smart about it. Don't get nuts with it. Don't, this isn't the time to, I'm trying to think of the show as I'm vamping a little bit, but don't do crazy stunts, stupid human tricks, things like that. We don't want this. This isn't Fear Factor. Just have a good time, throw some steaks on the grill, sit back, maybe watch an outdoor movie, something like that. But just be sure to pick up around your house, make sure there's no liability issues. If you've got dogs, probably not a bad idea to maybe make sure, because they got new people coming in. You never know what's going to happen. Dog bites is also another one you got to watch out for. Maybe put Fido up a little bit. Maybe put him in the house. Make sure he's in a bedroom or something where he's comfortable. He's not going to worry about it. And just make sure you're doing it the way you need to be.
Let's say you've had a homeowner policy for 10 years, okay?
Right.
You've added some of these things to your deal, and you haven't notified your agent. I mean, does that stuff happen?
It happens all the time. You'd really be surprised. It's the job of an agent. A lot of times you get a homeowner's policy and you pay it, and you never talk to your agent, and the next thing you know, it's 5, 6, 7, 8 years down the road, and it's the job of every good agent to sit down with you at least once a year, and we do it on a routine basis. Sit down. Hey, let's talk about, we got your renewal in. Let's take a look at that. But have you made any changes to your house? Hey, have you gotten a swimming pool? Hey, have you picked up this? One of the biggest questions we always ask is, somebody will say, well, hey, I got a new truck. Okay, what are you pulling behind that truck? Because most of the times people are pulling something, whether it's a trailer, whether it's a camper, something like that. Or, hey, do you guys get some new ATVs or, anything new that we need to know about? That's the job of your agent, to act as kind of the liaison between you and the company to make sure that the agent is representing you properly to the company, but then that the agent's representing the company properly to you. So make your agent go to work for you. Don't let them just sit back and get that renewal in every year. Make them go to work for you. Make sure that they know that you're covered the way you need to be.
Now, folks have done these things or changed or added to or taken away or whatever.
Right.
And then we'll get a hold of you and find out, what do I got to do? Or maybe they're looking to get a new policy or whatever it is. How do they get a hold of you?
Really simple. 549-2525. Bryan Insurance has been doing business in Graham since pretty much since Graham was around. Started.
Been almost 100 years.
Almost 100 years of Bryan Insurance has been around. So we know what we're doing. We've got a great staff over there, whether it's personal, home, auto, life, health. If you've got some commercial interests you're looking at, we've got the team. We've got the expertise to know. Denny, I'm telling you, there ain't a scenario Denny hasn't seen before. He's going to know kind of how to get it covered. We've got a great team of folks over there. So 549-2525, BryanINS.com, or come on up to the second floor of the Sierra Bank building, and we will get you squared away.
All right, there's Joe, Bryan Insurance guy, bringing you the info you need to know. Thanks, Joe. Appreciate your time, my friend.
See you later, Rick.
All right, we got some Cheryl Crow to get this Cornelius Custom Services 8 o'clock hour kicked off, so let's get it going.